We are happy to be joined again by Debbie Lynn Toomey, the RN and coordinator of the Tufts Medical Center's Injury Prevention Program. This is a continuation in our series, Falls Prevention and Stress Management for the Aging Adult. Debbie, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Carrie, and thank you to Quincy Public Library for allowing me to continue this work out in the community. Again, my name is Debbie Lynn Toomey, Tufts Medical Center's Injury Prevention Coordinator, and welcome to this program called Falls Prevention and Stress Management for the Aging Adult. And today I have a special guest. His name is Officer Ryan Donnelly from the Quincy Police Department. So welcome, Officer Donnelly.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So can you let us know just real quickly before you start your actual program, what is it that you do in the department? And what topics are you going to be sharing with us to help us be able to live a safe and healthy and happy life?
Absolutely. So my current assignment, I'm assigned to the anti-crime unit, which is a plainclothes unit. We pretty much do any sort of quality of life issues we focus on. So if a resident has an issue with, say, homeless in the area, or there's a store where there's people congregating, drinking, doing things like that, we pretty much are the catch-all to, we get a variety of different things. But we mainly focus on quality of life issues for the citizens. But one of the ancillary duties in our unit is we do a lot of the community programming as well. So we do defensive tactics, RAD, we do a pepper spray class. Obviously, COVID has kind of turned that upside down and has made it very difficult for all of us to meet in person, which a lot of these classes are face-to-face. Zoom's been able to help facilitate some of these to an extent, but I feel like you just don't get the same impact if you're not in a group and, you know, being able to teach everybody what you need to teach them. But today we're going to focus on scams and personal fraud. The topics that we're going to cover are the types of scams, types of fraud, how to avoid the scams and the fraud, and then what to do if you are a victim or have lingering effects from being a victim, and how to prevent being a victim.
Great. Well, it's going to be you're going to be a wealth of information for all of us, because it seems that since COVID hit, I mean, this was happening before COVID, but it just seems now there's the people, the perpetrators, I don't know what you exactly call them, but they're becoming really, really savvy in how they get our attention by phone, by text, by email, by mail. So really, this is going to be a very valuable program today. So I look forward to learning from you. So take it away, Officer.
All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about are the types of scams. So we kind of break it down into scams and fraud. So we'll get into the difference between the two. But a scam is pretty much like, hey, listen, you won the Zimbabwe lottery. You have to send me $1,000 and you can have it. You've never been to Zimbabwe. You've never registered in the lottery. A fraud is kind of like, say, I got your checking account number and I'm just going to write a bunch of checks and open up a Xfinity account, and I'm just going to draft off of your checking account until you figure it out. So there is a difference there, and we're going to talk about that. So first thing we're going to talk about is the types of scams. The four main scams that we see are lottery scams, kidnapping scams, personal information scams, or what we call phishing, and then warrant arrest scams. So I know it seems a little scary when you hear kidnapping scams, but once we get to that that portion of our discussion, you'll realize that if you just use some common sense, it's really not that scary. A lot of times police officers forget that to people who are not police officers, this stuff is like, oh my goodness, like, because we see it so often and we kind of understand, oh yeah, you know, it's just a scam, don't worry about it. But if you get a phone call that rattles you in the middle of the night, you know, it's a little scary. So the first one we're going to talk about is lottery scams, like I just touched on. And so what a lottery scam is, the scammers will contact people who have never participated in a lottery or maybe participated in a lottery. One thing you need to make sure of is to know for sure that it's a scam, they'll send you a form letter. That, for example, one that I found online doing research for this class was a Wyoming lottery email. And it says, you won the Wyoming lottery. You didn't win the whole $50 million, but you won $800,000. But we need a fee up front to get you that money. And then when you look at the bottom of the form, it has an out-of-country phone number. So that should tell you that it's fake. Because why would the Wyoming lottery have an out-of-country phone number that you can contact? Makes no sense, right? So as we know, by playing the lottery here in Massachusetts, everybody's either played a scratch ticket or the numbers or the Powerball. They don't ask you for money up front. That's another big clue. If they say, hey, listen, you need to send us $1,000 so we can get this $800,000 to you, someone who isn't savvy enough would be like, oh, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Don't do it, because you're not going to see the $1,000 and you're not going to see the $800,000. Like I said, most of the time, if you look where the email came from, it will say like UK or some other designation at the end of it that isn't within the United States. If you do end up getting one of these emails, what you can do is you can always go online, say, find the phone number for the Wyoming lottery and say, hey, I got this. Is this real or not? You have to kind of do your due diligence with these things now. It's just part of how we live in society, unfortunately. So the next scam is kidnapping scams. So like I said, it sounds pretty scary on its face. So I've responded to several of these calls myself. We don't see this as much as we used to. I think COVID plays a role in that because a lot of people are stuck inside and not out and about. So one call in particular, got called to a house. A woman was frantic saying that her grandson got kidnapped. So, you think of a grandson. I'm like, oh, it must be a tender age child, probably like 6, 7. So, why don't we go make sure he's not in the house playing hide and go seek or something like that. I get to the house and the woman says, my grown grandson was kidnapped. I said, okay. I said, how did you find this? I got a phone call. All right. Well, what's the phone number? And it was an out of country phone number. So she showed it to me on her phone, it had the country designation and then the area code and then the regular phone number. I said, okay. I said, why don't we try to do this? Why don't we try to call your grandson? He's at work. Well, where's he work? She goes, I don't know. I said, all right. Well, why don't we try to call him on the phone? Couldn't get a hold of him on the phone. We got a hold of the gentleman's mom. Said, oh, he works at the Lowe's in Weymouth. Calls Lowe's, get him on the phone right away. Oh, yeah, I'm at work, Grandma. Like, there's no big deal. So a lot of times you'll either get an email or a phone call. And what happens is it'll say, listen, you need to go to Western Union. You got to send us $1,000, $500, or we're going to hurt your loved one. The problem is if you try to get a hold of that person, you can't get a hold of them, then you're like, oh my goodness, this is real. And then she called the police. With these scams, they play on your emotion, obviously, for your family members. So you got to think about it logically, right? It's very, very rare for someone to be kidnapped in general in the United States. It's very rare, especially kids. I mean, so the odds of an adult getting kidnapped, it's not someone that they know, or it's just the odds are very slim, but they play on that emotion. So the main thing you got to look at are, where are they requesting you to send the money? Is it possible that family member could have been kidnapped? If it's like, oh, my wife's at work today. I doubt, hold on, let me give her a call at work. And she picks up the phone. Hey, what's up? They're playing for that 1 in 100 chance that the person is just going to be like, okay, I'm going to send you the money right now. So you send out thousands of those text messages or emails to people all across the world, and say you even get 10 that will pay you $500 a whack. That's $5,000 for the day, and you're good. So the main thing is to do your background on it. Try to get as much information from the person that's either calling or emailing or texting. That was one that we had once. Try to get as much information from them as possible. Okay, if you have my grandson, what's he look like? Well, that's not important. Well, it kind of is important. I want to make sure that I'm paying to get the right person out if you actually have them. Where are you located? How can I get this money to you directly? Do you have a phone number I can call you so I can talk to you in person so I can get, we've seen movies. It's kind of silly. They ask for proof of life. I need to know that the person's there, that you have them. Ask them what their date of birth is. The way that they get this information is all our information is out there on the internet for people to get. It's scary. It is absolutely scary. You go on some websites that will show your family lineage. They'll give you your phone number, address, date of birth, who your kids are. It's crazy. So they get all that information off of the internet and they try to come up and get money from you through a kidnapping scam. One that's far more common that we come across is what's called phishing. So an email or text. I actually got an email the other day on my work email yesterday. That's a phishing email. It said, "Oh, your closing documents are ready." I already own a home. I didn't buy any other house. So you click on it. They try to get you to sign on to a login page, figuring that obviously they got your email, and you'll create a username and a password that you use for all the rest of your accounts. So I don't live in Galveston, Texas, and I'm not buying a house down there, and no one has opened up anything on my credit saying that I'm going to own a house. There's been no credit checks from Galveston or anything like that. But what these emails do is like, "Oh, we're from First Liberty Mutual Insurance. We know you have a policy. Can you just verify your name, date of birth, social security number?" Don't do that. If you are dealing with a company that you gave them your sensitive information, like say an insurance company, they're going to have your name, date of birth, social security number. They're going to have information on who you designated to receive the funds if something happens to you. Do not verify that information when someone calls you on the phone or sends you an email. If you end up getting one of those phone calls or emails, if it's a company that you legitimately do business with, contact that company and just say, "Hey, listen, I got this weird phone call. What do you think about it?" So you already know that company's email address. You already know that company's website. You already know that company's phone number because you do legitimate business with them. Just contact them. Say, "Hey, listen, do you guys really need my verification on my social security?" "Oh, no. That's just a scam. Don't worry about it." They'll also pose as the Social Security Administration as well and say, "Oh, we need to verify your social security number." Well, if you're the Social Security Administration, why do you need to verify my social security number? I actually got a phone call. I was out at a call, keep getting this weird phone number. So I finally pick it up. There's a gentleman that clearly was not in the US and says, "Hey, listen, my name's Joe," he said, or something like that. "I'm from the Social Security Social Security Administration. I need your social security number to verify it because I believe that you might be in trouble." Okay. I said, "Well, here's my social security number, 999-99-9999. He said, "Oh, hold on. Let me put that in." I said, "I got the last one, buddy. I got the last number. There's no more left. I got the last one." "Hold on." Puts it in. "Oh, that doesn't register." "Oh, okay. Well, that's my social security number." And then he started swearing at me and yelling at me. So right there, you know that it's not real because there's no professionalism. Someone from the Social Security Administration is not going to swear at you and yell at you. So then he hung up on me. But that brings me to the last scam that we're going to talk about. So there's a scam out there where people will call. You can check it on YouTube. There's actually some funny videos where they'll actually call police departments and say, "Hey, I'm looking for Ryan Donnelly. Can you put me through to him?" So if you have an extension, sometimes the dispatcher or the secretary will put them through to you. And there's one in particular where a captain, I believe it was somewhere down in Alabama, gets a phone call saying that she has an arrest warrant for her. And it's from the Social Security Administration. And they need to verify your information so they can cancel the arrest warrant. Couple things. The Social Security Administration does not issue arrest warrants. They do have an investigative body, which they try to determine whether or not people are using Social Security numbers fraudulently. But that would either come from IRS, if they were to draft a warrant, the IRS or the FBI. It's just, it's kind of funny because like if you're busy driving down the street, like I was that day, and someone calls and I wasn't really like paying attention to what they were saying, I'd be like, oh yeah, here's my social security. Because you get so many things going on nowadays. Everybody's driving around, picking kids up, going to this, going to that, doing this, doing that, going to work, going to your second job, going to pick your wife up, going to pick your husband up. So the arrest warrant scams come in a couple different ways. They'll also say, they'll pick a random city, like say Houston, Texas. They'll say, oh, Houston, Texas police have a warrant out for your arrest. You need to pay $500 right now and we'll get rid of it. You don't need to pay money to get rid of an arrest warrant in any state. If you are concerned that, oh, I was in Houston and maybe I did do something I shouldn't have done, call that police department directly, especially if you're out of state. So say I get a call, someone claiming to be a member of the Houston Police Department saying that I have an arrest warrant out for my arrest. Why would they call? So why would they call you and let you know so you can flee or run, especially if you're in a different state, if you did actually have an arrest warrant? So just, you got to do your due diligence and you got to use some common sense when it comes to these things. A lot of these scams can be kind of, oh yeah, it's just a scam. Don't worry about it. If you just think logically about what's happening at the time. So a lot of these scams, like it's right in your face, winning the lottery. Boom. Oh my God, I won the lottery. Great emotion. Kidnapping. Boom. Oh no, someone has my grandson. Warrant for your arrest. Oh my God, I can't go to jail. I have no warrant for my arrest. The phishing information scam is a little bit more subversive because they're trying to get that information from you secretly. But the other three play on emotion. And you got to take a second, take a step back, take a deep breath, think about it logically. Okay, what's my next step? So those are the scams. We can move on to fraud unless anyone has any questions or if you want me just to keep going.
Well, I just want to say that, I've had one of those IRS calls 2 years ago. Was it 2 or 3 years ago? IRS called me and said that there was a discrepancy or something wrong with my 2012 tax return and that I had to send in $2,000 right away or the police will come knocking at my door in 2 hours to arrest me.
Won't happen.
I didn't expect a phone call like that. And it scared me. And I was on the phone with that person and I was trying to figure out, okay, how could this be? And finally, I said to myself, you know what? I want to call the police, Quincy Police right now, just to let them know what's going on. So I told the person on the phone, I said, hold on, I want to call the police department right now because I want to let them know what's going on. And that person just hung up. So, at least at the back of my mind, I knew, okay, this is crazy. If you ever feel like like your instincts telling you there's something off here, you got to listen to that instinct.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just like, it's just one of those things. And, like do your due diligence. Exactly. Yeah.
2 additional pieces of information to go along with that. One, the IRS sends correspondence mainly through the mail.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a letter from the IRS in your mailbox, 99% of the time it's the IRS. Secondly is we don't serve federal arrest warrants. Local police do not serve federal arrest warrants. If you have an officer attached to a task force that has been deputized federally, then they can. But I'm not going to go serve an arrest warrant for someone who may owe $2,000 for on their taxes. So just keep that stuff in mind. So the types of frauds that we're going to go over, like the main sort of generic types of fraud. So we're going to talk about identity theft, credit card fraud, and check fraud. Check fraud's last because that's a lot less common now. So that one will be fairly quick. The identity theft is very, very prevalent. It happens all of the time. We get calls every day for someone who has had their identities stolen. Now that goes hand in hand with check fraud and credit card fraud. I've had fraudulent charges made on my credit cards. My wife has too. I have multiple friends who have. It's everybody because all that information is floating around freely on the internet. The dark web is a huge source. of credit card numbers, especially people with tier A credit. All it takes is some sort of key logging program on a computer that you use somewhere down the line and you logged into something. They can backtrack all your information. It's scary. It's scary how much information they can get from you. So the definition of identity theft is when someone steals personal information or receives some sort of goods, products, or services pretending to be you. So criminals can get your information in a bunch of different ways. They can steal your wallet, your purse. They can steal your mail. For example, like I still get a couple of my car payments still through the mail. Someone can go to the post office and change your address to have your mail sent to another address. But you'll know that right away when you don't get your mail for a couple of days. So the change of address forms at the post office, we haven't seen that much, but it does happen from time to time. And then what we have is called dumpster diving, where people will go through your trash. So I tell my wife all of the time, do not put your bills that you're done with in the recyclable trash barrel. Just don't do it. It's like, why? Well, your account number's in there and it just gets dumped into a big giant trash barrel that's loose and free flowing. Either shred your personal documents before you throw them out or rip them up into little tiny little pieces like I do and put it in with a regular trash with all your stinky food and leftover dog food or whatever have you, dirty diapers. People are not going to be going through that sort of stuff. They want the nice, easy stuff that they can just pick out. Oh, here's a full account number. Let me go backtrack that. Other ways they can get your identity information: breaking into your house, theft of your phones, computers, tablets, picking up old phones that you've either thrown out or given back to the cell phone companies. Make sure that your devices are wiped completely clean as best as you can. Like I said, phishing, making those fake emails that we talked about before. Credit card skimmers and trappers. Those are the ones that when you go to an ATM or you use at a gas station, you stick your card in, it will read it. Not only will it read to get your gas tank full, but it will also send a electronic signal back to whoever put the skimmer on there. But usually that person has to be fairly close by because the range on those are very, very small. So, a couple 100 feet. So usually a person will be sitting in a car down the street, gets downloaded onto a tablet, and then away you go. The trappers are less, we don't see those as much anymore. The skimmers, we're starting not really to see. There were a lot around. One way to check that is when you go to the gas station in particular. I know that Cumberland Farms is really good with this. They put a sticker around the front of the gas tank. So like when you go to take the handle out, you'll see it right near the payment station. It'll say secured by 0322 and it'll have a serial number. If that's broken, that means that someone has made their way into the back of that machine and may have put a skimmer in. So skimmers we used to see at the front, they used to just fit right on to where you put your credit card in. And like I said, it would send two sets of information, one to the gas pump and then one to the person who's watching the skimmer. The trapper is where it will actually trap your card and you can't get it out. And then once you leave to go contact whoever you need to contact to get your card back, say it's at an ATM, the person with the trapper has been watching you, will run up and release the card and then they have your physical card. Another way people can steal your identities through family members. Believe it or not, I mean, even if you don't have people in your family that engage in a criminal lifestyle, there are people who do. And those people will get into your house and go through your credit card, steal a credit card, steal an account number, check, or take a picture of your credit card on the front and the back so they can get the ID number on the back, the 3-digit code that they have to make sure that you can do online purchases. The theft of social security numbers for minors is somewhat prevalent. So if you have like your children's social security number, make sure it's in a safe, locked up. No one knows it. I have my daughter's. I don't know it. It's in my safe. It's just there in case whenever she needs to get a job or, needs some sort of benefits in some way, we can access it. We have not put it out. I don't think it's on any paperwork that we have. She's not listed as a beneficiary on any of our accounts. So try to keep that in-house. The problem is that your kids don't have credit. So that's one thing. So if the criminals are looking for tier A credit, your child's not going to have it because they haven't had a chance to build it. Usually what they'll use those for is for like utility accounts where you don't need a credit check for, like Xfinity, National Grid, Eversource, things like that. So they can get free gas, electric, and cable. The other way people get your identity is through keyloggers. And we touched on that earlier. What a keylogger is, it's essentially a virus that goes on a keyboard. So when you touch the keys, it logs every single key that you touch. It'll also log what website you went to. So say if I got to make a student loan payment, go onto the student loan website, put in my username, put in my password. They can then take that username and password. That's why it's important to change your username and password for each account. I wish I could say I did it, but I'll be honest, I don't, because I have so many accounts that you have to log into. And they'll try to get in, they'll see the other websites that you went into, especially like for stores like say Lowe's, Home Depot, Sears, big box stores, where they can get large items for a lot of money that they can resell. They're going to hope that your username and password is the same for that. And then whatever credit card information they either ascertain from the original keylog or that they already have on hand, they'll try to get goods from that.
I'm just trying to understand. So the keylogger, is that, how is that something that's built into to something that you are logging into outside of your home, or as you're buying something from your home, that there are people out there in the internet who uses keylogger and they look for people like that?
So what will usually happen is they'll send it to you in a virus, like an email. You'll open it up not knowing that it has it in there. You're like, this is just a junk email. You get rid of it, but that virus has already been implanted into your computer. So say you go on Lowe's and you want to buy, a new outdoor dining set or something. You put in your username, because they make you create a username, password. You got to put your credit card in and the CV number on the back of the credit card. Now they have all that information. So they can take all that. They can just take the credit card information and go buy stuff somewhere else. And then all of a sudden you see, oh, geez, it's $2,000 for some store in Alabama or Oregon. But I didn't go there. That was that information that they took. That's what I think happened with my credit card. They ran up like $7,500 in charges for just random things. It was odd. One was like a nail place in Alabama. So it's crazy. Some stuff you can't stop. I take it seriously, and I think I'm pretty diligent when it comes to these sort of things. And I was a victim of it, So, but that segues into credit card fraud. Like I said, the credit card skimmers and trappers, that's a way that they can get your credit card information. Another way is purchases that were paid online through unsecured servers. So, you log on to the general Xfinity free Wi-Fi that they have like throughout the country. If you're an Xfinity customer, that's not secured. Your home email, your home internet may not be secured. Depends if you have a VPN on it or some sort of other encryption on it. I got hacked into when we were in Florida one time because I was on an unsecured hotel network, not even realizing it. I just had my phone on for internet whenever with the internet, so it'll save you on your cell phone usage. And logged on. Next thing you know, a couple of my accounts I couldn't get into. Luckily, I didn't incur any fraud on it, but they changed the username and password, and I couldn't get into them. So it was a kind of a pain in the backside to get back into those.
Yeah.
The other way that people can get you credit card information, like we discussed, the loss of cards, like you just forget to pick it up off the counter, someone swipes it, starts charging a bunch of stuff on it. And the theft of it too, car breaks, home breaks, things like that, where people will just lift the card off you. I wouldn't worry about pickpockets so much, but I mean, I keep one credit card on me and my driver's license in my front pocket. I don't carry a wallet. It's just something I've always done. I'll feel somebody try to get into my front pocket, hopefully, and be like, hey, listen, what are you doing? The good news is with credit card fraud is that the credit card companies are very good and they're willing to help the customer. So the fraud that I had was through Chase. I called them up and said, hey, listen, I have these 3 charges. They're looking at it. They're like, oh, have you ever been there? Nope. They just take a quick verbal statement from you. They make you a test over the phone that you did not charge those charges. And they send it off to their security department. So the main thing is that they want to retain you as a customer. So if you're a good customer, your account's in good standing, and you make your payments on time, and you use the card like every normal American uses a credit card, they want to keep you as a customer. So they're going to bend over backwards to help you. So with Chase, billion-dollar company, maybe even $1 trillion company, they get these calls all the time. They say, okay, Mr. Donnelly, we're going to immediately take it off your card. We're going to hold it to the side. We're going to investigate. If it's proven that you did make these charges and you lied to us, we're going to terminate your credit card. You're going to have to pay us the full balance, including what you're alleging was fraud. If not, someone did commit fraud on your credit card, we'll take it right off and you're all set. And that's exactly what happened. It was off my account immediately. I didn't have to pay finance charges on it. You just have to call them and let them be made aware of what's going on. That's the big thing.
Yeah, I agree. The credit card companies are getting better. My credit card company, whenever they question a purchase, I would get an email and also a phone call and a text. But of course, I'm not expecting the phone calls or a text. So I think those are scams. So I don't reply back. But in the email, I would read it and they would say, we did not allow this purchase. Please let us know if this was you. If it is, then we'll, put it through. But the credit card companies are becoming very, very savvy indeed. Yeah.
So they're getting so good. One of our other credit cards, they contacted my wife and said, someone's trying to use your credit card. Where are you right now? And she's like, I'm in Quincy. They're like, okay, we're going to cancel your credit card. Cause you could tell it was actually, Barclays. And it said, when they called, it said Barclays USA, like on the caller ID. And they said, someone's trying to use your card, not your husband's card, but your card. We're going to cancel it right now. We'll send you out a new one. Call us at this number when you get the new card. Yeah. Got the new card. They didn't even incur a charge. I think it got denied, but they want to change the number and all that and everything. So they're getting really, really good at trying to stop these fraudsters from continuing to do what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's good for people to be proactive, especially now that the world is opening up with COVID and people might want to travel. What I like to do is call my credit card company and let them know that I'm going to be traveling to this state, or if I'm going to be out of country, letting them know where I'm going to be and when I'll be coming back in a way. So that way, if there's any charges, they know that it's, they have it on their notes that this, I called it in. And this is actually where I'm supposed to be, and that whatever charges they see from that location is valid.
Yep. So check fraud is what we're going to talk about next. It's very similar to credit card fraud. If you think about checks and credit cards, opposed to writing, the only difference is you write out a check, but on the bottom, they have a routing number and an account number. It's the same thing on your credit card. The first 4 numbers of your credit card are the type of credit card. Then they have a routing number and then your actual account number. People use checks less and less now. I'm a little bit old fashioned with some stuff. I still send some checks out. My wife is all over me about it. Listen, you got to do everything online. I can't separate myself from some of them for some reason. But the way that people steal credit cards are exactly the same. Checks are exactly the same as credit cards. They'll go through your wallet. They'll break into your car. They'll steal them from your house. Family members might take some from you. But what you'll notice is obviously they either will, nowadays with the phone, you'll take a picture of the routing number and the account number, and you can go on and pay for things with that. But before the cell phones could take photos, we all remember those days, you'd notice that there was one check missing or two checks missing from the back, until you get like, oh, geez, there should be like three more here. I got it to the series 200, the number 200 check. Oh, it's missing three checks. Next thing you know, you get your checking account statement. There's those checks that it says out of sequence. And it says out of sequence. And that's that. And then there's fraud. Again, those banks are good with trying to get that stuff taken care of too. With checks, it's a little bit different. It may take a little bit more time to get the money taken off your account or to get reimbursed, because that's actual physical money opposed to accruing debt on a credit card. But if you go to your lending institution and let them know what happened, usually they'll work with you. So, but any questions on that stuff?
No.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm learning so much, so keep going, please.
So the last section we're going to talk about is how to avoid being a victim of scams or fraud. So this is all common sense sort of stuff. So consider the way that you pay. We talked about the fraud protection built in with credit cards, but you need to be careful with MoneyGram, Western Union, things like that, because it's very difficult to get your money back. They're not as easy to work with. So if you are able to have a credit card, usually the payment protection's built in on that. You can get a fraud resolution department. That's what they call it now. Get that taken care of. Make sure you talk to someone before you give up money when you think that it might be involved in a fraud, a scam or a fraud. Like, for example, like the kidnapping thing that we spoke about. I need to talk to somebody, not just like emails or, no, where are you? Tell me what this is all about. Try to gain as much information as possible. If you get a robocall, just hang up on them. If you know what the number is, you can go to, I believe it's I want to say it's Massachusetts. I want to say it's on the Secretary Galvin's office. You can give them the number for the robocall and they'll call them, because they can't robocall you anymore in Massachusetts. And you just tell them, here's the number I'm getting all the time. I think it's a scam. They'll track down the company on their end and try to get them to stop calling. Be skeptical about free trial offers. A lot of times, you get a free trial, but we're going to need $3.99 up front. And then they just continuously bill your credit card. And you're like, oh, what's this $3.99 for? Mm-hmm. So be cognizant of that. What to do if you're a victim of a crime. First thing to do is to contact your credit card, like say if it's a credit card issue or a check issue. If you're a victim of a fraud, of credit card fraud or check fraud, contact those institutions. Then contact the 3 major credit bureaus, which will give you information for that at the end. Yeah. And have them put a fraud alert on your credit card file. What this does is it warns any lenders that may do a credit check for, say, a new car that you didn't purchase. They'll be like, oh, this is a fraudulent account. Now, on their end, they should contact the police department where they're at, saying, hey, listen, we came across this. These are the people who are trying to buy a credit card saying that they're Ryan Donnelly. A car saying that they're Ryan Donnelly. File a police report with your local police. Make sure you keep a copy of the police report. A couple reasons is like, say if someone does get your personal information and starts doing a stolen identity fraud against you, you'll get random bills for things that you never signed up for, like say a credit card for Macy's or NSTAR in Chicopee, Massachusetts, when you live in Quincy. Contact those people, say, hey, listen, here's the case number with the Quincy Police Department or ex-police department in where you live. I was a victim of identity fraud. This person's perpetrating fraud on me. I shouldn't be held responsible for these charges. Usually, when you submit something like that to those companies, they're like, oh yeah, you're not scamming us out of money. Someone's scamming you out of money. When you come into the police department, you give us your information of what's going on. Like say, if you're filing a fraud report, knowing that if you file a false police report with us, that you can be charged with a crime. So when these companies see that you've filed a police report and it's righteous, they're like, okay, well, they went into the police department under the pains of perjury pretty much, and filed a police report. So it's got to be legit. Don't deposit a check and wire money into banks that you don't know. Like, for example, like when we talked about the kidnapping fraud, the scam, or the lottery scam, they'll say, hey, listen, you're going to have to deposit a check into this account by 2:00. Like you said, Debbie, when they said, we're going to come pick you up or we need that money. Once you submit a check, they have your checking information. If you submit a wire, you're not going to get that money back. So it's almost like, a check's easier because then I can go to the bank and say, hey, listen, but then you have to change your checking account number. You have to change all of that, your linked savings account. All of that stuff needs to change, and it's a giant pain in the backside. You can also sign up for free scam alerts through the Federal Trade Commission at ftc.gov/scams. That's the federal government. They're far more up to date with all of these scams than I am. That's pretty much all they do is to try to stop consumer scams. Another thing you can do is when you're a victim, contact the grantor of each fraudulent account, like we talked about before. Say you get a bill from an address in Chicopee saying that they're using your information for Xfinity. Contact Comcast, say, hey, listen, I don't know who these people are. Here's my police report like we discussed before. You can always call the identity theft hotline. It's a federal hotline. It's 1-877-ID theft. Pretty easy to remember. They can always send you out additional resources, get you looped in with programs like we're doing here. But it's more on a federal level. Document dates, names, times, and phone numbers for scams and fraud. Do as much as the homework you can yourself. Not to say that the police departments that you go to won't help you, but our time and resources are very limited for things. So if you can come in and say, Officer Donnelly, there's 4 charges on my credit card. It was in Huntsville, Galveston, and Portland. And here's the dates, here's the companies and here's the amounts. Awesome. I'll type that up, give you a copy of your report. We'll try to work on it on our end, try to track down the people who are doing it. It's very difficult to find the people who are doing it, especially if they're not local for us. But the main thing is to get you a police report with as much information as possible for you to go to your credit card companies and other grantors on these accounts. But I think that's about what I have for you. We do have some slides for TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, the major credit bureaus, and how to get in contact with them. They're very, very good.
Let me share the screen so that way you can kind of walk us through what you have.
Yep.
Okay. Can you see this?
Yep.
Okay.
I can. So the 3 main credit bureaus are TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. All this information right here, they have TransUnion and Equifax have dedicated fraud divisions, or you can see fraud victim assistance, consumer fraud division with phone numbers there. Experian also has one, but the information that we were able to find, we couldn't find the exact phone number for them. So you can just call the National Customer Service Assistance phone number, and they can direct you. You can place those fraud alerts with those people. Just say, hey, listen, or you can even call them up and be like, I just want to bounce something off you. I'm getting this phone call. I'm seeing these charges on my credit card. What do you guys think? And they'll say, oh, well, here's the resources we can provide you. We can put a hold on that credit card. We can put a fraud alert on your account. All that stuff will help you in the long run. Believe it or not, having a good credit score is something to be very proud of. And it's also something to make sure that you keep intact, because that affects you buying cars, a home, getting home equities, other loans, things that affect your life on a daily basis. And for you going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the slides, it will say how to report fraudulent use of checks. These companies, like I said, we don't see check fraud too often, but when you do, you can call CheckRight, Equifax, Telecredit, International Check Services, Telecheck, and Check Systems. They all specialize in check fraud. Obviously, Equifax also does the credit reporting end of it too. So for any additional resources, the next slide, you'll see the resources on the federal side. So you have the Federal Trade Commission. They're really good. We get a lot of literature from them on financial stuff that we hand out to the community. So they have a ton of resources. Like I said, their whole job is to make sure that trade is facilitated correctly in the United States. And that even comes with fraudulent trade too. U.S. Postal Inspection Service, they're really good. If you don't know about the U.S. Postal Service and their inspectional / postal police side of it, they essentially have an entire police department for the U.S. Postal Service. Not a lot of people know that, but they have it separated into two. They have uniform patrol, guys like me, and they have inspectors who do long-term investigations. The Secret Service is also in charge of the mail here in the United States, and they focus on different types of fraud as well. Obviously, counterfeit money is one thing. But they're a really good resource with everything that has to do with mail. So if you think that someone's stealing your mail, or you think that someone changed an address and had mail sent to them, like we discussed earlier, call them. They'll be able to track it down. It's scary how much information that they get through the mail in terms of where things go. They can tell you, oh, a package went there at 3:57 p.m., dropped off, or that mail delivery was dropped off at this time and date at this address. Great resource. Social Security fraud hotline, that's probably the one that's called the most, because people have Social Security numbers stolen all of the time. If you think that yours or your child was stolen, feel free to call them. They will either work on getting you that Social Security number back, or issue you a new one and stop the one that you had previously. The Fraud Victim Assistance Department, I believe that's also through the Federal Trade Commission. You call them and they'll be able to help you navigate all of the fraud or anything that you see on your credit card or a scam that you were involved in, anything like that. And I think that will do it.
That's the slide there. Okay, let me stop to share. All right. Wow. That was a lot of great information. And I want to ask you, being a Quincy police officer, what is the most common that you common scamming, fraud, phishing that you typically have noticed in the Quincy, Milton, in this area, as far as it affecting the aging adults, like the seniors? What are the common ones?
Credit card fraud's pretty prevalent throughout any age group. So, I mean, every age group uses credit cards. It's simple. It's easy. People don't like to carry cash on them nowadays. Mm-hmm. So we see a lot of identity theft and credit card fraud through identity theft. And some of the scams, so like the lottery scams and the kidnapping scams, sometimes people will, like I said, act on emotion with that and be like, oh my God. A lot of times when you call someone up and say, hey, listen, you got a warrant, usually they're like, yeah, whatever, dude. You know what I mean? They kind of hang up on you. But the lottery people, oh my goodness, this is great. Especially, like, I would say the kidnapping scam is more prevalent with elderly people because they have a larger family. They have grandchildren, children, maybe great-grandchildren, and you can't keep track of those people. So it can be a little bit difficult to be like, oh, I need to call Susie right now and make sure, oh, what's her phone number? But you're like, oh my God, if something's happened to her, I got to make sure I can take care of it now. Those are the ones that we see. But like I told you from the beginning, the kidnapping one during COVID has kind of ceased just because a lot of people are inside. So it turns out to be identity theft and fraud.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, so just kind of going off a slight tangent. So, how about keeping in line with the safety and security of the aging population, those who live in their own apartments or in their own homes, what are what are good ways for the aging population to keep themselves safe in their own property?
With fraud or just in general?
In general. So so we're off topic, just the property safety of the actual. Yeah.
Cognizant of your surroundings at all times.
Okay.
You'll know when something's not right. Just if you see something that's not right, or you get that feeling, leave. I tell my daughter that. I tell my wife that. I tell my friends and family that. Always be aware of your surroundings. Always. People will be on their phone, not paying attention, walking across the street, walking down the street. I saw one girl in town once on her phone. She had an iPad in one hand, phone in the other, not paying attention to where she was going. And I just said, nope. Someone could just run up and steal her phone and her iPad, and she wouldn't know what they look like, where they went, where they came from, where they're going, anything like that. You need to be cognizant and pay attention. That's the main thing. You can do a lot of prevention of crimes against you just by paying attention. That's all you got to do. Once you're inside your house, your guard goes down, obviously. I mean, because that's your sanctuary. That's where you're supposed to feel the most safe. It's just common sense and just looking around you. Like, you wouldn't believe how many times someone's been a victim of a crime. Well, what'd the person look like? I don't know. Which way did they run? I don't know. Something got stolen out of my pocket. Someone stole my book bag and they ran. You got to pay attention. If you are a victim of a crime, try to get as much information as possible. We understand as police officers, it's difficult for people to absorb information quickly, especially when they're all amped up and, you're laser focused and something just happened to you. Like, it's very difficult for your brain to process all of that. But the more information that you give us when we respond, the better. The easier it is for us to investigate and bring the person into jail, lock them up, file charges against them, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good points. Very good points. And as far as we don't really typically get as many people ringing our doorbells like salesmen. That has basically gone down a lot. So what are your tips about that? If you're not expecting anything, you're not expecting anybody to come, and somebody rings the doorbell.
Don't let them in your house at all. Even if it's snow, tell them to come back another day.
Yeah.
Don't let them in your house and ask for some sort of identification with a picture on it. Make a mental note of the identification. A lot of cities and towns have ordinances on the books that when people go door to door for, say, energy assessments or something like that, they have to register with the police department, give an ID, name, phone number, and the company that they're working for. They'll be logged. So it will say, okay, it was a guy with glasses, blonde hair that came to the house. Oh, yeah, that's Joe Jones. Well, he came in and he stole my wallet. Okay, now we know where to get Joe Jones. You can also call the police department before talking to them. Say, hey, listen, did they register with you guys? No? Okay, we'll send an officer out. We'll go talk to them. That's the main thing. Don't let them in the house.
Yeah, very good points. Now, as far as what other safety tips do you have for the aging population as far as when they are actually out there, out in the community? You talked about being careful when you use your credit card. You talked about, just making sure that you look around, you know who and where you are, what's going on. What other tips are there that you could share with us as far as, now that the weather is getting nicer, I'm hoping a lot more people are going to be outside walking and, caring about, with their typical routine. Any other tips that you can give us? Like crosswalks or a lot, any type of.
Yeah, we touched on that before, you and I. Use crosswalks if you're crossing the street. It's a big thing. Just, again, you got to be cognizant of where you are. Just because there's a red light and a white line on the road doesn't mean a car's going to stop. So you're going to look both ways, just like mom and dad taught all of us when we were little. Make sure you look both ways before you cross the street. Make sure it's clear. Make sure that you can have eye contact with the drivers that are there so they see you, you see them.
Yeah.
You have to be careful, especially in the crosswalks that don't have a crossing signal, like a free-flowing crosswalk that's just in the middle of the road. Try your best to be visible as well. I know it's tough sometimes, especially the way that roads are designed. All roads are different. There's no two roads that are exactly alike. So just, you need to use the crosswalks. It takes everybody working together to make sure that people can cross the street safely.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing. If you think about it, it's rather amazing that all the cars that are on the road every single day, and there's just so few accidents compared to how many miles that are traveled, how many cars are operating within close proximity to each other, how many people cross streets, how many people are walking along the roadside that don't get struck. So you just need to, and that's all because the majority of people are paying attention.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing. Everybody has a part to play with that.
Yeah, that's a big problem. I mean, I've been my role as injury prevention coordinator at Tufts. I attend meetings locally, statewide, and national wide, and a lot of the problems. There's a big problem in distracted driving, and that's caused a lot of problems. But also, there's also distracted pedestrian. So you talked about an example where you saw a woman walking down the street, iPad and phone. So they're multitasking. They're not using all of their senses. And, who knows, if they see a crosswalk, they might cross the crosswalk, but they may not know to look both ways to see if the vehicles can see them. So there's a lot of those accidents that can happen as well with distracted pedestrians. We're very close to the top of the hour, so I want to really thank you, Officer Donnelly, for spending this time with us. I've learned so much. For people, because you covered a lot, and I feel like I need to rewatch it because I really want to be able to get a lot of the nuances, different terminologies down. So for those of you who joined us here today, if you want to watch it again, this is recorded. It'll be under the QATV channel, also the Quincy Public Library site. But if anything, go on YouTube and look up loss prevention, stress management, and then you'll be able to, after a few days, see this recording. But I learned so much from you today, Officer Donnelly, and I hope everybody who joined us did as well. Any last tip that you want to give us before we go off the air here?
Just be safe. Always look out around you. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Main thing.
Yeah, that's
Main
right.
thing. It's just always be cognizant of your surroundings.
Everybody keep safe. Again, thank you so much, Officer Donnelly. Everybody have a great week. Bye-bye.